Well, for a closer look at the boom in business of the English Premier League and the growth in football globally, let's bring in someone who was there when the Premier League took off. John Gubba joins me live from London. He was a cameraman for the English Premier League and is now a filmmaker and documentarian. John, thanks for being with us.
Rachelle, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, you've literally been on the front lines since the EPL took off. So how has it evolved over the past 25 years, especially when it comes to its spending habits?
Well, as we've heard in that report, the English Premier League has changed in just about every way possible. You know, commercially and as a competition. I remember 25 years ago, my company used to cover a lot of the Premier League matches, and we were doing it on 2 cameras. And nowadays, every single match is covered by many, many cameras, and they're all outside broadcasts, and the pictures are all being beamed all around the world. In those days, a lot of the matches just weren't seen because you might get a few seconds here and there on local news reports. And in those days, there was a massive market in video. People used to watch end-of-season highlights on video because they didn't get to see their teams every week.
Now, with that being said now, the English Premier League is undoubtedly a commercial juggernaut, and it was helped a lot by its multi-billion-dollar broadcasting deal with Sky and BT, which is actually scheduled to end in 2019. So what happens to the spending spree after that?
I think the spending spree is going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, football is the world sport. It's watched all around the world, and the figures are going up. You know, Manchester United, as you said there, is the richest club in the world. They've overtaken Real Madrid and Barcelona. They're already turning over revenue of 700 and odd million pounds. They reckon they're going to be turning over a revenue in the next 2 to 3 years of £1 billion sterling a year. And that's based on the fact that football is continuing to grow. You know, football audiences on TV. We had a survey by Ofcom, the regulating body in the UK, only last year, and that came back with a finding that 46% of football fans who went to stadiums and watched on TV wanted more football on television. So it's only going to go in one direction, in my opinion.
Certainly welcome news for advertisers. Now, how has the EPL's growth corresponded, though, to the growth of football globally?
Well, the Premier League is bigger commercially than all the other European leagues put together. The reason that the Premier League is so popular is because it might not always be the best football, but it's the most competitive football. And that's partly because in the English Premier League, the money is pooled, unlike where you have in Spain, where Real Madrid and Barcelona keep all the television money, and they're so strong. That's why they're the strongest teams in the world, because they keep their money and they grow beyond the size of the Spanish league. Whereas in the Premier League, every team can beat every other team. You know, the bottom team can beat the top team. As we saw on the opening day of the season, champions Chelsea were humbled by lowly Burnley. They were losing 3-0 at half-time, and they ended up losing 3-2. But it's very competitive, and people around the world love to watch the Premier League. And at the moment, we've got players from 67 different countries taking part in the Premier League. So the global interest is there because of the participation and also because of the theatre value. It's always exciting to watch.
Now, in terms of global growth, we've seen that the EPL has grown in popularity in the US thanks to a lot of television deals and also some streaming options. So where are the other growth markets that you see for the EPL, say, over the next 25 years?
I think America will continue to be one of the growth areas, but undoubtedly, probably the biggest growth area is going to be in Asia. You know, in China, Manchester United alone have 106 million fans. The Chinese Super League is growing. There's the government there, they've made football a priority. You know, schools now in China have to play football. And there was already a massive interest in the Premier League in China, but now that they're starting to build from the grassroots upwards, that interest is going to grow. India, the Indian Premier League is also growing. We've got 2 ex-Manchester United players going over to play for a team in the Indian Super League. And there's a lot of interest created by these superstars or former stars going to these countries.
Now, John, looking at the world's most valuable football clubs, and speaking as a lifelong and long-suffering Arsenal fan, it's hard to deny that more money translates into better results on the pitch. So will the future success of football teams be forever tied to whoever has the deepest pockets?
I think the reality is if you've got the most money, you're going to buy the best players, and you're going to win the most trophies. But, you know, it is possible for smaller teams to win. We saw only just over a season ago when Leicester City won the Premier League. Only 6 teams have ever won the English Premier League in 25 years. and Leicester City became the 6th team to do that. And nobody would have thought that was possible. But it just goes to show that even though these other big teams have got so much more money than Leicester City, they were able to do that. And I think another thing that's worth mentioning is in the top 20 richest clubs in the world, 8 are from the Premier League. So you've got teams, even down the smallest teams like Burnley, have got a bigger spending power than European giants and former winners of the European Cup like Ajax Amsterdam. So these teams have got massive spending power. Right. They can all buy top players, and the competition is immense.
Well, it certainly seems to be levelling out the playing field. Thank you so much, filmmaker and documentarian John Gubba.